Hey guys, so I think it's time for one of those introduction podcasts. This is going on my YouTube as well. We've got a YouTube channel. So Telltale Club is an orchestra, an electronic orchestra. I'm iServalan. That's my stage name. It's not my real name, but iServalan. And we've got other members, Vapor Punk, Flex. We've got a few other people. And together we create music for the Book of Immersion sci-fi series. Now, we're just trying to collate everything so that we've got our independent, freestanding YouTube channel, which is devoted to the music, the orchestra, all the free stuff that we do. We do loads and loads of free samples, free loops. We give them away. We broadcast every single day on our podcast. So the podcast is linked to our YouTube. It's all automatically streamed on YouTube as soon as we broadcast. Pretty soon, very, very soon, within the next couple of weeks, we're launching the live stream, and that's going to be 24/7 radio for Telltale Club. So it's going to be, just great stuff, fun stories, loads of sci-fi, loads of horror, loads of music, background music, anti-music. I'm doing this thing now. I'm sort of rebelling, I think, against how AI makes this music that is so, I'm just finding it really unpalatable. So I'm kind of thinking I want to be anti-music. I want to get rid of all of those, robotic ideas about music and what it should sound like, because that's all that, pop music is just spewing out at the moment. So I'm a bit anti. So I'm going to do loads of stuff like that. And we're going to do lots of experimental stuff. And I know it's a bit yawny. I know that. I get that. But the only way you're going to create change and create excitement and interesting things is to experiment and be a bit radical. So this sort of, I'm radicalizing music in a good way, not in a bad way, because it needs to be radical. We need to get back to that sort of vibe that was. I mean, I'm quite an old lady, the 60s vibe, Velvet Underground and stuff like that, where musicality was much more about narrative and feelings and emotion, and it was less about pitch perfect, the sort of thing that robots are making now. It's, it was exciting. It was synthesizers, the early synthesizers, the analog stuff, all of that. So I'm going to be using lots of interesting things, instruments made with found objects and things like that. But, I'm very much an electrical musician, I love my tech, and I like wires, and I like, plugins, and I like all of that sort of stuff. But I don't particularly like, what's happening in the music industry because of the use of AI. I really hate it, actually. Now, don't get me wrong, I've used AI a lot, but I use it in really interesting ways, if I say so myself. And, the orchestra, it was founded on mucking around with AI, but making AI do really interesting things. And unfortunately, what happens with AI, or what is happening with it, is it feeds itself. So now that we're all using it, and the level of expertise or creativity, I should say, has really just got lower and lower and lower to sort of base level of kind of hyper-consumerist ideology, and that's where filmmaking becomes a short, and that's really governed, I think, by this hyper. It's a conspiracy in a way, but it's a consumerist conspiracy, and it's just more of it and more of it and more of it, and then AI is just feeding off it, and it's not doing anything interesting. But there's so many interesting things you can do. So we do use a bit of AI, but we F it up a bit. I mean, that's what we do. We do really exciting things if we're going to use AI, and if we're going to use plugins. I've got an Evoc, which I love. I love my Evoc 20 so much, but I use, found sounds and human voices in it. And, that's how you get interesting stuff out of it. And plugins, I in defence of plugins, they're not nearly as bad as, going on to, is it Suno or Sumo or something? Suno, I think it is. It's where they create music for you, and it's really good. And I got a ditty the other day about my grandkids, and it sang all their names. But that was the point. It was so childish. My grandkids would love it, but for us adults, creative people, we need something more. Otherwise, what will become of us? So I'm going to be doing this live stream, and it'll be very much electronica based, and of course presented in a digital way. So you can't escape digitization. If you're live streaming and people are listening on their handheld devices, they're only going to get a certain mixed down version of it. They're not going to get the real thing that was happening in my music room, with the concrete floor and the sort of ambience of the space, with the doors open and the birds singing. Do you see what I mean? You're not going to get any of that. You won't hear it. It'll be so compressed. Everything's really compressed for digitization, for digital media, for social media, it's really compressed. You lose so much. So the challenge, I think, with the live streams will be, getting that. How do you get the passion of the music into a tiny little device in somebody's hand with a 1-inch square image? Hopefully headphones they help a bit, but not completely. You're still compressing everything. So all of these things are going to be really challenging and really exciting. And I'm really excited about that. So this is just a heads up really for what's about to happen. So we've got our devoted podcast, which is iServalan.com, or Telltale Club, Telltale Music. Oh, I can't remember actually. Don't quote me on that one. I've forgotten what the blogspot domain is. I can't remember, but it doesn't matter. iServalan.com will bring you to us. It will bring you to our podcast, which is all free, of course. You can hear everything on there except music. The music is all going to be on YouTube. So the Book of Immersion is going to be on YouTube, and I publish an episode every week. We did our first one last week, and this week, Friday, is episode 2. So there'll be more music, more storytelling, more animation. So that's really, really lovely. So part of the streaming will show, this, it'll be on a loop, so you'll get to see the episodes. So how thrilling is it going to be? Absolutely thrilling, I think. So there we go. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the show. Thank you for stopping by. If it's not your thing, don't subscribe. If it is your thing, do subscribe and share the electronic dreams.